What's up, YouTube? My name is Birdman778 and welcome to another Outriders video. Today, I'm going to do something y'all been begging for. You've all been asking. You're like, Bird, I see you are constantly using this like super power crab build. You got the sets, you got the tier 3 mods, you got the awesome legendary weapons. How am I able to get to this point? I'm going to finally show you exactly how you can get to this point with this budget bleed build using only purple weapons, except for one exception. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But until we get to that point, do know I stream over on Twitch, twitch.tv/birdman778. Start every single day, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So stop on by to see all these awesome builds being made. Make sure you're subbing here on YouTube. We are a growing channel. We are the strongest, most amazing Devastator channel out here. So make sure you're subbing and find me on Twitter and TikTok at Birdman778 for some super subpar content. But until then, let's get right onto the video. So I mentioned that this is an all purple build, except for one exception. I decided to add in 2 weapons that are legendaries to this build. But the only reason why I added these is because they were available in the demo for you to pick up. So if you've been playing this game since day one, if you've been playing since the demo, you do have the ability to get these guns pretty easily, and they're also can be found as you go through the story. So I figured we kind of had to and add something in there for those who might be looking for something. But do know we actually are going to be using a purple weapon as well that has some mods, and I'll kind of make some mod suggestions on what you need to do. Now, first and foremost, obviously, you see this Thunderbird here. This was available in the demo. It's got that crit damage, status power, close range damage. Now, when it comes to those shards on weapons and our pieces of armor, it's going to be a little bit more important this time. So here's some different things that you should look out for. First off, when it comes to weapons, I like crit damage. I like long range and close range damage, as well as weapon leech. I think those are really nice just purely off the fact that, one, the crit damage, extra damage, the close and long range damage, extra damage, and then the weapon leech, just making sure that as you're shooting your gun, you're going to be getting some health back. Just because, again, you're not going to be having all those armor pieces and stuff that really give you those nice boosts and stuff, or those tier 3 mods that can really help out with that. Having something like that can be helpful as you're moving your way up to CT15. Now, again, on this Thunderbird, we have the ultimate storm whip on it, which comes with the gun. We also put improved vulnerability bullets, so that's a tier 2 mod. It's available on pretty much any purple or blue, possibly. Just really depends on which one you find, but it will be in that tier 2 slot. I like this because it's going to give us extra damage to enemies and just be, in general, a saving grace. Now, on this shotgun that I found here, I have 2 different mods on it. So actually, this was a blue that I upgraded to a purple. You can do that over time, obviously, but I have Claymore and Death Chains. Now, with this, I think these 2 are very important. One, Claymore shots damage an enemy with Anomaly Blade, dealing 133,000 damage. That's a 4-second cooldown. And then Death Chains shots entangle an enemy within chains, dealing 193,000 damage over 3 seconds. That's a 2-second cooldown. Both these are really nice because we're going to be doing extra anomaly damage to enemies, which we already, again, have this going in our skill tree. We'll explain that in a second. But having those over time effect skills that are going to do damage on top of your gun damage already is really great because it's going to help you shred those bigger enemies such as captains and above, all the way to brood mothers. Those are some things I would be looking out for. Other things I would say, maybe bone shrapnel, getting killing shots. You'll inflict that bleed around enemies around them. Really great for those really tiny rank and file enemies so that you're getting that bleed damage you're going to need for our skill tree. But again, when it comes to these purple guns, again, getting those like Death Chains, the Storm Whips, stuff like that is going to be really advantageous for you because it's just more damage continuously on top of your weapon damage as well. Now, I do think pistols are kind of a bit more of an important thing here. I have the Torment Agony on this because of that Judgment Enforcer. Again, this is a weapon that you were able to find in the demo, but at the same time, they're really helpful just for the fact that you can add maybe like an improved vulnerability on top of that, pull out a gun real quick, shoot like the brood mother or something like that, and then be able to go swap back to your other weapons and do damage. Maybe be more of a utility weapon there, but that just really comes down to you, what you're wanting to do. Again, I would say for purple pistols, anything like that, make it a status effect infliction, maybe that not ultimate freeze, improved ash, something like that, again, where you're going to be able to inflict a status effect. When it comes to our purples and exactly what shards you want to put on these pieces of gear, I think different things such as anomaly power, skill life leech, close range damage, status power, and cooldown reduction are very important. One, anomaly damage, you want to boost that up as much as you can because you want your skills to be able to do something. Your weapons might be able to do as much. Again, since we're Devastator, we don't have those anomaly bolts to really carry us through stories and carry us up to that CT15. So having something that's going to boost up like Impale, Earthquake, Gravity Leap, give it just a little bit more oomph is always going to be advantageous for you. Skill Life Leech, again, using your skill is going to give you health. Close range damage, again, obviously, closer you are to enemies, more damage you're going to do. Cooldown reduction, obviously, you're going to get your skills back faster. Stuff like that, I think, is really great for you. Again, just because you want to be able to constantly using your skills as much as humanly possible. But on this one, we have Anomaly Power, Skill Life Leech, Close Range Damage. It's just a random roll I got on this one, but it kind of helps fit because especially with the mods that we have below here. So first and foremost, for this helmet, I just have a random roll on it, but I mainly picked it because of the mods that I was able to do for this. First up, I had that top Devastator mod for Earthquake. Earthquake inflicts bleed on enemies damaged by the skill. You absolutely want this because you want Earthquake to be constantly inflicting bleed to enemies. This is going to help out with your skill tree, with your healing throughout this, but also just the overtime status effect. As you can see, we have really high anomaly damage right now, 141,000 possible. So that's going to work off of not only skills, but also your status effects. So more status effect damage to enemies. Very, very important for you to have that. Again, this is a budget bleed build. You want to incentivize that bleed as much as possible. And then second, we have extra Quake. Earthquake, the skill can be activated one more time before triggering a cooldown. Obviously, there's a tier 3 mod that gives us a third one of those, but we want to make sure we have as many of these Earthquakes as humanly possible. So having that is very good. Next up, we have on our chest piece, Anomaly Power, cooldown reduction in status power. Again, Anomaly, super important, boost that up as much as we can. Cooldown reduction, get our skills back. Status power, making sure that that boogie does more damage. On this one, we have Spike Force Impale. The skill can be strike an additional target. Really nice because when we are going into a big mobbing situation, there's a bunch of enemies. We're able to hit more of those enemies on the battlefield. Not only will Impale inflict more bleed on them, but just another chance for an extra enemy to be taken off the battlefield. And also because of Impale giving us more armor and health regen on kills, again, that's just going to boost you up. And then second, we have Bloody Boost. Boost your damage against enemies afflicted with bleed by 15%. Extra bleed damage because we don't have that tainted blood and we don't have the seismic commander set to give us that extra 50% bleed damage. Having at least just a little bit more so that we're able to do more damage output is really nice. Again, this is going to work with that even like these death chains over here. It's going to do more damage because of that on top of it as well. Next on our lower armor piece, we have Anomaly Power, Status Power, and Cooldown Reduction. Obviously, we've already talked about all those. But on this one, I have Armor Boost. Grants you 4,900 points of armor for each enemy afflicted by the skill. Effect lasts for 8 seconds and stacks 10 times. Very nice because whenever there's a large group of enemies, we can do one Earthquake and then just get a huge boost to our armor value. This is going to just help you again for that damage reduction against enemies running up and hitting you, something like that. High armor, always great. If I could, I would change this out for range on it, but this is kind of the one I got kind of locked on. It's really hard to find every single perfect piece of gear out there. Again, this is why I'm making one of these purple only builds, so that you kind of have an idea of what can work, what you can maybe swap out, what you should be looking for. And on this, again, armor boost isn't bad, but I would say getting the extra range on Earthquake would be more advantageous. And then on the second perk, we have Rivers of Blood. This one I think is a lock. I think anytime you're using Impale, Rivers of Blood has to be on. Why? Because Impale increases the skill's damage by 50% to enemies afflicted with bleed. More bleed damage. Again, you'll have the 2 uses of this Impale for you. So let's say like you aren't able to immediately inflict bleed with like Earthquake, you can inflict bleed on the first Impale, and then you at least know that second Impale, it's going to do a lot more damage. Very good against captains and above. Those enemies, you just want to be able to do as much damage to them as humanly possible. On our gloves, we have Anomaly Power, Status Power, and Cooldown Reduction with Human Fortress. Now, we're using Tremor on this build because, one, it's great for our health regen. It's great for interrupting enemies, drags them, pushes them out, drags them back into us, constantly making sure that they're kind of staggering. And also, again, this will help us with our health regen and boosting our armor as much as we can. But we also have Ground Crush. Earthquake increases skills base damage by 84%. 1,000. Again, more damage on that is very great for us. We'll kind of look on the skills here in a second and show you exactly how much damage you'll be getting from that. And then finally on the boots, anomaly power, close range damage, and cooldown reduction. With sharpened spike, the skill deals 129,000 more damage. And impaler, the skill can be activated one more time before triggering the cooldown. Again, we want impale doing as much damage as humanly possible. Same thing with earthquake. We're boosting those skills as much as we humanly can. Now, again, we'll kind of talk about here in a moment exactly what skills we might be able to swap in and out. We'll look at that tier 1 list and show you exactly what's possible. So like I mentioned before, some mods that we can change in and out, what might be more advantageous for certain skills versus other ones. First off, when it comes to earthquake, we want to, again, lock the bleed. We want to lock that extra use. That's right here. Getting extra damage is always great for us. The getting max health skill isn't really going to help you out all that much. Personally, I don't think, just because of skill of life leech and just how Devastator is set up, where you gain health from enemies within a certain range. Our skill tree will kind of help out with that, so this isn't really needed. Armor boost, again, this one's going to be not too bad. If it's in there, if it's kind of one of those like lock skills you can't really do anything about, it's not bad. We like it, but at the same time, it's not necessary, because we would probably prefer Earth's Legacy, increase that skill's range by 60%. Getting a longer range on Earthquake so it's able to hit more enemies is always much better, personally. But again, it's hard to like mix and match what's necessary versus what is like, okay, you know what, I don't have this, but I can at least subsidize it with this instead. And then finally, on this Panzer Drain, damaging enemies within the skill steals 33% of their armor. This might be better if you're like trying to go a little bit melee focused, but it's really not that necessary, just because we're going to be doing so much damage with Earthquake as is. With Impale, Vlad's Grasp, not too bad of a skill. We're going to be kind of in the thick of it no matter what, so that extra range isn't exactly necessary. Let's say, like, though you're doing one of the charging the obelisk, and enemies, like a spitter enemy sitting on the side, yeah, that might be a little bit better for it, but it's not exactly needed for that. The Impaler, absolutely must have it. Rivers of Blood, absolutely must have it. Sharpened Spike. This one can go in and out, but I think if you want to really take advantage of your anomaly power and your skills, yes, you should be using this. Spiked Forest, the skill can be strike initial foe. Absolutely, definitely want to have this on. And then finally, Restoration. Impaled enemies generate 5% health regeneration bonus for all the players. This, if you're really noticing you're having a hard time, which you shouldn't be, you could put this on. But again, it's one of those just like, like not really necessary skills. And then finally, for Tremor, increased percentage healed by afflicted enemies by 6%. Not too bad. I don't think this is exactly necessary. We have Crush Sequence, receive 2 additional explosions. Not too bad. Give me more, 1 additional explosion. If you're looking to extend that duration, sure. But the Human Fortress that we have on our Tremor is going to do everything we really need. Receiving that extra health regen and armor because of us already probably getting skill Life Leech from our Tremor, just from it doing damage to enemies within a certain area. You pretty much only need this. You want to be able to focus more into Earthquake and Impale. When it comes to our skills and exactly what damage they're going to be doing, obviously Earthquake, release a shockwave that deals 168,000 damage and interrupts enemies with in front of you. Again, this is high damage. This is going to do a lot of good, especially against bleeding enemies off that first hit. You can even run up to enemies and just punch them, and that will inflict bleed. And then you can activate Earthquake if you want. But regardless, know that on that first infliction, the second hit is going to do a lot more damage to them. Again, Earthquake's going to be your bread and butter over a lot of other things, so I think it's important to have this on. Tremor, create a series of explosions around you, dealing 21,000 damage and draining 1,200 health from enemies within a medium radius around you. Again, this is very advantageous for you because it's going to be a great healing skill for whenever you're kind of in the thick of it. It's going to allow you to be that tank for a little bit, run into there, activate it, knowing that you're going to get that great health regen from just the skill itself and Human Fortress and skilled Life Leech, and then also be able to do some gun damage or even use Earthquake or Impale to do a little bit more. And then finally, on Impale, select a target, interrupt their skills, inflict bleed, and deal 298,000 damage. If the damage is lethal, the enemy will be impaled, granting a powerful bonus to armor and health regeneration to all allies for 9 seconds. It's very advantageous for you to have, again, extra damage. This will be great for bosses, captains, stuff like that. It'll be even great against the basic enemies out front. If you have a huge mob in front of you just having trouble with, there's that like Berserker or something that's like shotgunning you to death, you can use this and know you're going to get a lot of damage. Again, especially off that first hit, whenever it hits them, it's going to inflict bleed, and then the second hit's going to do way more damage because of bloody boost as well. When it comes to our skill tree, we kind of have, again, that basic bleed build that we've had in our previous videos. So make sure you're checking through my channel, seeing all those if you're interested in more of the super min-max bleed builds there. But again, we're going to go into all 5 of these anomaly reservoirs, giving us that 30% extra anomaly power. That's going to, again, it's going to go right into here, making sure that this is boosted up as much as humanly possible. We're going in both these endless tremors, giving us a 30% extra cooldown. That's going to work for all 3 of our skills, making sure that we have a low cooldown on them. And that's also going to help go off of the shard cooldowns that we have in our armor as well. We have one of the pure anomalies active. I've actually been going only into that one because apparently all basic enemies have a 15% resistance piercing. It doesn't really matter after that. I've been getting some back and forth kind of info on that. I'd love for someone to let me know in the comments down below if they've noticed anything about that. But at least for now, I figured, you know what, I could probably just put in that one and move some skills around to better help min-max this for survivability, again, since you're only using purple items. We have anomaly bullets on here, increase firepower by 15% of your anomaly power. Again, we're going to go back here and we're going to see that we get close to 100,000 firepower from this. Again, it's going to help out both our weapons, especially since we have such a high anomaly power at this point. We're going to go into Stone Circle and into Through the Mob. One Stone Circle, increase the distance that's considered close range by 4 meters. And then Through the Mob, increase your armor by 7% for each enemy within close range. We want to have as high armor as possible. We want to be able to stay tanky, even though we don't have those legendary sets that can really help push us to that point. So having that increased distance, and also just because of the fact that Devastator's main healing mechanic comes from enemies dying within close range, making sure that we're constantly staying healed from enemies dying is very great for us. We're going to go into one of the red rivers. We're not going to go into both. Increase bleed duration by 30%. This is more just for the healing aspect of the build, making sure that if, let's say, you inflict Earthquake, inflicts bleed on a bunch of enemies, but you're not able to get to all of them and you're noticing you're having trouble, it's going to making sure that as long as they're bleeding, you are regenerating health at the same time. This one can probably be moved up to possibly like Havoc or something, giving you an extra weapon damage, or even into a Colossus for max health. But I think at least in this spot, it can kind of help complement the bleed build entirely. Definitely go into Executioner, increase damage by 20% against enemies below 30% of health. We're already going to be having a hard time doing damage as is because, again, we don't have anomaly bullets. We don't have that thing that's really easy to get us up to that CT15. So this will really help you out. Both of the bloodbaths we're going to go into, bleed inflicted on enemies deals 30% more damage. We want more damage on our enemies, and especially because that's going to help boost off our status power. Enemies inflicted with bleed will take more damage. Blood donation, absolute lock, has to be here no matter what. Don't care what you say. You are healed for 25% of your bleed damage. You will be constantly inflicting bleed on enemies, so getting that extra health is something you have to have. One in rejuvenation, making sure we're getting a little bit of skill life leech, 6%. This will be great for tremor, especially. We're already going to be gaining health from that, but just making sure that it's extra complemented is very great for us. Protected by Anomaly, increase your armor bonus by 40% of your anomaly power. Right now, we have 141,000 armor on this build, so because of that 141,000 anomaly power we have, so high armor, making sure that we are staying as tanky as humanly possible. Skilled Sentry, increase armor by 20% and resistances by 20% for 10 seconds when the skill ends. Whenever we're constantly activating Earthquake or Impale, whenever it's finished, we're going to get that high armor value. It's going to shoot that 141,000 armor up to 163,000. So again, high tankiness is important for this build. And finally, Earth's Heritage, increase seismic skills base damage by 50%. That's going to help benefit everything that we have skill-wise in our tree, making sure that we're just doing more damage. Thanks so much for everyone stopping by. This again is that budget bleed build that you can use. Just a bunch of ideas on what you can use to making sure that your build is as efficient as possible to get yourself up to that CT15. You can solo with this. It is possible. I don't have any gameplay for this right now just because honestly, I am so used to using all this other stuff. It's really hard to kind of go back. But I was able to go through CT13 to 15 on my stream today using this, and it was pretty efficient. So make sure you stop by the stream so we're able to see all this fun stuff. It is possible. You might not be able to gold everything, but it's going to get you to that point where you're able to slowly move your way up, possibly get some legendaries. I would definitely say you doing the bounties and the hunts throughout the story is going to be very advantageous for you, because it's going to slowly get you those pieces that you need to then get these more min-max builds. Again, hunts and bounties are very important. You should be doing them. But guys, make sure again you're dropping a sub on the channel. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being by today. Again, streaming every single day starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time over on Twitch. Follow me on Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, all that stuff at Birdman778. I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. Have a great night, day, or whatever it may be.